What up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and I am joined by my good friend, Aram in Toronto. What's up, Aram?
Not much. Happy New Year, Patrick.
You sound so unexcited.
Hey, I think
Happy
we're just
New
happy.
Year, Aram.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you. I'm happy this year is over, and I'm looking forward to next year starting. So let's get to it. Come on, 2022. Let's go.
Yeah. 2021 was a very interesting year for everybody around the globe, but
Keeps getting more interesting too, though. So don't think it'll stop with 2021.
Yeah, no, we're still right there. But it's interesting, right? Because doing this podcast last season to this season has been similar but different, right? Because for me, it's like they were so mediocre to bad last year, and now they're so good that it's just such a different vibe around this team and the attention that this team is getting. And it's always fun to cover the Warriors no matter what, but it's definitely way more fun when they are one of the best teams in the league.
Oh man, I mean, you think about the trajectory that they've been on in just this one calendar year. I mean, we were talking a little bit off mic around the Christmas game about thinking back to last year's Christmas game when they got destroyed by the Bucks, and we saw a little bit of glimpse of Wiseman, but they were just definitely a shell of a team trying to figure things out. They didn't know what they were doing. I think we all were too, to be fair. But like you're saying, to see them as legitimately one of the best teams in the league, totally back in the title contention conversation, it's been an amazing trajectory for that to happen in 1 year. And there's been a lot of things that we are not seeing that have made that happen. So I mean, kudos to them for doing all the work behind the scenes and kind of restructuring things, and also for the players to be putting their mind to it too, that hey, and seeing that this is an opportunity, because I think that they do see it as an opportunity, which leads to good chemistry both on and off the court, and just prioritizing winning and doing things the right way. So from the top down, there's just a lot of cohesion that's going on, when last year it was a little bit like throwing darts at a board. So
yeah, it's crazy to think how much of a makeover this team got. I mean, teams always change from season to season, but this one was pretty drastic. I mean, just a year ago, we had guys named Kelly Oubre Jr., Brad Wanamaker, Alan Smiley on this roster, Michael Mulder,
Ken Bazemore.
Oh man, yeah. So
what a roster.
Yeah, so I'm excited for 2022 and what is to come. So this is a celebration, right? This is a celebration of the new year. And what would a new year be if we didn't have resolutions? So I want to talk to you about, basketball, Warriors, NBA resolutions that you would like to see in general. I'm keeping it broad.
Well, this is one of those things, right? And because the NBA season starts in the fall and carries over through the winter and into the early summer, it's one of those things. It's it's different than the preseason hopes and dreams that we had, right? Because we have a significant case study that we can project ahead or base off our resolutions. And so, I was actually talking to my kid today, and we were trying to talk about resolutions, and he had a wish for the year, and it's oh, well, that's different, right? A wish is different than a resolution. So a resolution is something kind of a little bit more concrete that is in your power to do.
More active, right? More active than hopeful and passive, right?
Yeah. So with that in mind, I did have a few resolutions for the Warriors. So I mean they're kind of grouped into things. And so the first one, and maybe this is also because for some reason I watched that entire Denver game the other night. which was pretty ugly. It was pretty ugly.
It's because you're a diehard. What are you talking about? Yeah.
and I'm on the East Coast, right? So, but and this is definitely informed by the recency bias, but it's also statistically it's holding true that their free throw shooting has to get better. Mm-hmm. Steph and Poole, not really the problem. Draymond surprisingly shoots pretty decently, but for some reason the rest of the team, they're somewhere ranked in the 20s, and you really saw that in the Denver game. They missed about half their free throws. A lot of those were by Kamenga. He was super active, getting fouled left and right, but he couldn't make a free throw. So I think I hope that is a kind of a case study to be, or a lesson to be, hey guys, if we had made a few more free throws in that Denver game, we would have won it. Even with having the offensive troubles that we had, so mm-hmm. forth and so forth. And that free throws can help our offense, because all the games that they've lost have been ones where they couldn't score enough points, right? They struggled to find offense. And can that offense come from the free throw line? And I think there have been games this year where the offense was helped by somebody getting to the line. I think Poole had a game where he was, 12 of 12 or something that, where he, I think it was the Philly game where he shot terribly, but he still made it to the line a whole bunch of times. And so they need to get to the line more, and they need to shoot them better. So that's one. And hand in hand with that one, and this is like on the court resolutions that they can definitely do things about, is can we set some better screens? Draymond, Looney, they're great. And I don't know if it's because we lack like a true big man. We don't have like a Bogut, a Nazili,
they're both available.
We don't have these guys for them to run around, right? So maybe, but Otto Porter setting a screen is a lot different than Bogut, right? But still, let's set some better screens. And I hope that's one of the things that Wiseman is working on with Miljevic.
Oh, those are solid, man. Those are Coach Aram in Toronto with the X's and O's. All right, so I don't have an on-court one for the first one. This is more of me, and just as a Warriors fan, my resolution. Again, we're going broadly, anything around the Warriors or basketball. Mine is to stay off Warriors and NBA Twitter more often. And if you're out there listening and we communicate on Twitter, it's not you, it's others, right? Because we all know that social media can be toxic, can be funny, and a little absurd. And just like in any other kind of realm or vertical, whatever you want to call it. And Warriors Twitter is very much like that. And sometimes it just gets a little exasperating because you're just like constantly on it and reading these horrible takes. There's some good takes, definitely some good takes, but a lot of horrible takes. And you're like, wait a second, why is this bugging me so much? So my thing is to just, go on there when, I kind of should be on there, and then otherwise to kind of take a step back, maybe put some stuff out, but not so much like scroll, infinite scroll, right?
Yeah.
Through everything to maintain that sanity and, basically just some mindfulness about Warriors Twitter and social media in general. So that's me personally.
Well, I think it's also an encouragement to people that out there that it's true, right? When you're reading it, and there's some really great fans out there, some great takes. So just encouraging everybody, if you're going to be on Warriors Twitter, just put some good takes out there, save the bad ones, write them down on a paper, and then crumple up and throw it away. You know what I mean?
Exactly. What's your next one?
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to do some more concrete ones, because a few of these I'm just like, it's a little bit too out there, but okay, here we go.
That's great.
I want to see more consistency from Poole. So I was looking at his splits, and actually, his splits aren't that like wild in terms of like how he plays in wins and losses. I mean, obviously percentage points, his shooting percentages are better in wins. He plays more minutes in wins, which I guess that makes sense. He's really important for this kind of latter 2/3 of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Clay's coming back imminently. Kerr just said the other day he's going to be starting. No, he's going to be on a minutes restriction, but
Sure.
he's starting right away. And so Poole is going to be coming off the bench. So that's going to be a new role for him. But he still has the same role of being like an extra scorer, a release valve, right? He has a really important role on this team. And I don't know. I mean, I looked at his splits and, I'm not some like thinking basketball, stats guru, but I know the eyeball test is that when we're playing well, it seems like he's playing well, whether it's shooting well or whatever. When he's playing well, we do well. So I want to see consistency in that bench role. With the COVID protocols, hopefully, the disruptions won't be too much more this year, but that he'll fill in these gaps, I think that's a really important role for him. So, and just like I mentioned before, every time they've lost, it's because they couldn't score. So, and he is one of our best scorers, right? So, so I just want to see more consistency from him.
What do you think his ceiling is at this point? We've talked about this for months, and it kind of shifts, the goalpost shift and everything. So, just off the top of your head, like right now, after seeing him for 30-ish games or so, what kind of vibe are you getting for him right now?
I think early in the season, I was like, like Jamal Crawford. But I actually don't think he is as good of a scorer as Jamal Crawford. I mean, Jamal Crawford is like an amazing scorer.
Smooth as hell.
But what's surprised me about Poole is that he hasn't been getting killed on defense. Like Crawford was like, just like go after that guy, right?
Right, yeah.
So I think he has a potential to be a starter. Like, I mean, he's played pretty damn well this first third of the season. I'm struggling to find a comp. I don't know that that there's the CJ McCollum comp has been thrown out there.
Sure,
and I think that's also some of our it's like the body type and comparisons that we fall into sometimes. So I actually struggle to find a comp for him right now. Do you have one?
I don't. I mean, I'm actually not looking for a comp because we've tossed them all out, whether it's Jordan Clarkson. Last season, towards the end of the season, I tossed out Cam Payne, you know what I mean? Cameron Payne on Phoenix. And you toss out the Jamal Crawford one. So to me, it's just like, I think it is about consistency. I think that is the next level, right? Of showing what he can be and who he can be. We know how he can score. And like you said, he's not getting killed on defense. And it's not just about improving. It's about if his shooting percentages can become as solid as like Clay's were, Clay's have been throughout his career, which is really high. It's a really high standard, especially from three. But anything close to that, then you're talking about a certain type of player. If you're talking about somebody who will go like 4 for 12 and then 7 for 10 the next night, then we're still talking more of that like microwave off the bench, heat check kind of, pseudo, modern day chucker a little bit.
well, so you asked ceiling. I mean, so maybe not, we don't need to talk about comps, but do you feel like ceiling of a high rise, like fringe all-star?
I think fringe all-star, like I've tossed the idea around that at some point, maybe if eventually Clay kind of does the Manu Ginobili thing and comes off the bench, not right away, but maybe in a few seasons, who knows, maybe when his contract expires and he re-ups, maybe Jordan Poole, if he's still around, maybe he becomes the starter. And I don't see him becoming a consistent all-star, but like you said, fringe. Like maybe he has one season where he's like just killing it, hitting 25 points per game, and he can get in there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and that's, I got no problem with that being his
Yeah. Nothing wrong
ceiling,
with
to
that.
be honest,
Yeah.
especially since a year ago I thought he was like not very good at all, to say it nicely, so yeah, no, I'm just curious, like, again, the consistency, like you were saying, is what is going to make his career and is going to make his next contract, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I go to my next one, because it's a good
Yeah,
segue to
for
from
sure.
Fringe about Fringe All Stars. So my other one is my other resolution, and we have a role to play in this, is to kind of paraphrase or to kind of evoke Draymond, is get my man Wiggins to the All Star game.
Yeah.
He said, get my man out of Phoenix, but get my man to the All Star game. Let's go. Let's get Wiggins to the All Star game. I know, Warriors PR has been part of, a little bit part of that too, but like, I mean, before he went into the COVID protocols, I mean, he was, and ever since those Minnesota games, like, he has been on a tear, and it's been consistent.
Yeah.
And the 3-point shot at 42% or thereabouts, that's incredible. He's really refined his game in ways that are not super perceptible, but I know a lot of the time last year would be like, oh, like turn around 22-footer,
Yeah.
He still does that occasionally.
Yeah, he'll take those. Yeah.
But it just seems he's really streamlined and focused on a lot of things. And again, just to like think back of where we were at the beginning of the season, we didn't even know if he was going to play, right? And now he's playing at this fringe all-star level, where, I mean, it's not even, who knows if he'll actually make the team, but that he's even being talked about that he could, right? And I don't think it's just Warriors PR that's saying that.
No, not at all. Obviously, his reputation and his quietness and the fact that he's like lower on the ladder on this Warriors team affects things. But I mean, I think I saw a stat. He was shooting like 42% from three since that Minnesota game. And I've talked about this too. It's like, this is the team. And we talked about this after Christmas. It's like, this is the team where he can finally just slot into the role that he's supposed to play, right? He couldn't do that last year. And he definitely couldn't do it the year before when Steph was out with a broken hand. But now it's like he knows the things that he is supposed to do, and his shots come so much more easily, not just with Steph, but with Draymond and Poole out there, and Otto Porter Jr. and whomever else is on the court, because they are just so much more dangerous and they have so much more firepower. So it's made the game even easier for him than last year and the year before, so like, I would love to see him I really like Andrew Wiggins, you just root for that guy, because for all intents and purposes, seems like a good dude, never, makes noise
Teammates
for anything.
Love him.
Yeah. The only press he gets is when he didn't live up to expectations, right? In Minnesota. So I want to see it also because, like, every time Kamenga plays well, every time Wiggins plays well, every time something good happens, yeah, thanks Minnesota. What I'm saying? Like, it's not going to go away. Like,
it feels good.
It's not going to go away for them because Kaminga's 19 and Wiggins is 26. It's just going to keep
like that
getting better for us. So yeah, I dig that. Okay, my next one, I don't have any on-court ones, so
that's all right. That's good,
because I feel like I talk about on-court stuff all the time, But one resolution I have is for myself and for Warriors fans in general to be appreciative of the team and the organization as it stands right now that we have in general. And I know the nature of fandom is just like having fun, spouting off, having hot takes and everything, but let's just stop right now and look at this team that's 27-7 and has been missing Klay Thompson, James Wiseman, and recently has had several guys out due to COVID protocols. And by the time we reach the springtime, this team is going to be, knock on wood, like relatively healthy, but this team is going to be very, very special. It's going to be special in a way that the other dynasty teams have not been, in the sense that there's talent that ranges from age 19 to 34, like top tier talent. And that is
And
something.
Andre's like 37 too. So
Exactly. I mean, yeah, put that up there too. Like, so 19 to 37, if you want to say, right? And I'm just super excited for that. And hopefully people can take that in stride and not take these moments for granted. Like, I'm enjoying watching Jonathan Kamenga develop. I'm enjoying every time he surprises me with like a move or with a skill or with like his touch around the basket or with his ability to get around a bigger guy or past a smaller guy. Like, it's all really exciting. And again, I'm still a believer in Wiseman. And I mean, Clay's coming back. I mean, I'm sure you saw some of those clips, man, of like him just scrimmaging or just shooting around with Steph on the court, right? Like, because they didn't play in Denver, he got a scrimmage in with the regular guys, and he said he was tired, but that's a huge thing. So, all the hand wringing of every little loss or the whining of this, that, or the other, that we've all done to some extent here and there, but you learn to kind of get past that and be like, oh man, like this team could be, in a way, a very unique team in the Steph Curry era.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, what you're saying is really resonating because, we're old school Warriors fans. When it's not like we had never had glimpses of young talent before, or what we
Anthony
thought
Randolph?
were glimpses, Vontigo Cummings,
Yeah.
like, pick your year. We found somebody to, be excited about. But the difference with this team, this organization as it is now, and it speaks to the management, is that you see a young player and you're like, oh, this could go somewhere because maybe they know or have at least some idea of what they're doing. You know what I mean? Because we've seen them take this team to higher levels, right? Where we would watch young players back in the day and be like, how are they going to mess this one up? And that's why people were so hyped about We Believe, because that was so unexpected, right?
Yeah.
For these young guys to come together and to actually do something well, right? Because it never happened, right? And now, it's obviously a victim of our own success in that, this team has been so good for, almost an entire decade. And, again, like I'm a big Giants fan, so the Giants have also had, pretty good decade as well. But you see something like Buster Posey retiring, like these players don't play forever and they don't last forever. They don't play at a high level forever. What we're seeing is amazing. And, part of that is the players' dedication to the craft and trying to stay at that high level as long as possible. It's the organization putting it together to try to win for as long as possible. But it doesn't always work out that way, so I'm really hopeful about this team, about the management trying to do it all, right? Like have these young guys contribute to a winning program, right? And it's not like you said on Christmas, it's not about threading a needle. It's like we're doing it now. You know what I mean? It's happening now. And so but at the same time, we have to appreciate all of that. And also, furthermore, like we've all been in this pandemic the last 2 years. Like, what a joy it is to watch these players play. It's a bummer when they don't. So let's just try to keep it in perspective, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And all the stuff like the Denver game being canceled and the uproar over that, which like we talked about this off the air, and it's like, yeah, like it's Draymond was right. Like if Denver wanted to play, they could have played, but this is what it's going to be for the next couple of weeks. Teams are going to have guys out for injury. They're going to have guys out for COVID. Games are going to get canceled. If they can avoid a game that they think they might lose, they'll probably do that in other spots. So it's going to be a mismatch, and it's just about weathering the storm and trying to pick up as many wins as you can here and there. and coming out of this winter, hopefully pretty much where you were, give or take a game or two, the same place you would have been before. Hockey fans, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a no-brainer offer that'll make you a winner once any shot gets past the goalie. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores. The NHL got rid of ties in 2005, so someone is going to light the lamp. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, no worries. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code TBPN, throw down $1 on any NHL game, and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's promo code TBPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. What else you got?
Okay, well, we're looking forward to the playoffs because, hey, we're talking about seeding here. They're clearly one of the top 3 teams in the West. Kind of the rest of the West is kind of a mess, but that's fine with me. So I think that it's proving that Kamenga needs to be in rotation. I know Kerr he literally said he's concerned about how to get guys enough minutes, right? And that they are very deep. And in the interim, that's going to help. That depth has already helped us through the COVID protocols. And it might be a few weeks, it might be another month before we kind of get through, clear on that. But I think what is clear is that Kamenga needs to be part of that in some way consistently. And,
right.
It can be 10 minutes, it can be 15 minutes, but he needs to be part of it consistently, because I think Draymond's right. Draymond's right again, in that this guy can contribute to us now, this year. And so if he has consistent minutes now, that means that he will more likely be a contributor come playoff time. There's always people, the rotation always gets shorter in the playoffs, but he offers something that we don't have. Now, there's a lot of things that need to be polished off, and it might mean losing a few games, right? That Denver finish, the finish against Denver, one of the reasons he didn't finish very well over Jokic was he was too far underneath the basket. Like, he was a little bit towards the baseline.
Right.
If he had cut at a slightly different angle, he would have been able to rise up more vertically, where he was kind of jumping sideways on that one. So it's like little things like that that he needs to work on. But he's only going to be able to do that if he gets those 10 to 15 minutes a game, and it means by playoff time, it still might only be a 8 or 12 minute spurt. But if that means, he got to the line, he got the other team into the bonus, he scored 6 points and grabbed 2 rebounds, but that's still, we've seen playoff games with this team. It's like all of those things, if you can be on the court and contribute in a playoff game, like you need that. Cause Steph, Dre, they can't play the whole game. Like, we need these dudes to contribute, and he offers so much in terms of his physicality and his skills.
Absolutely, man. And one thing I was thinking about as well was that, appreciating this team this season, but also, I mean, not to get too ahead, but like as very invested long-term fans, it's always wise to take the long view and just be like, man, I'm excited for this team next year. Like when you have Kamenga doing this year, and Moody will be better, and knock on wood, Wiseman gets more minutes under his belt and he can stay healthy, and you get Clay with more confidence and assurance in his body, and the fact that he's going to be more comfortable and get his win back and everything. And I think this team is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and Kamenga is definitely a huge part of that. Not a day goes by, not a game goes by where I'm not just stunned that we end up with Jonathan Kamenga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though he was always seen as raw, man, he was always top five in a loaded draft. And at some points last season, they thought he'd be top 3, top 2, maybe 1. Obviously, he fell back, but he fell to 7. 7, man. And as good as Josh Giddey could be, I'll take Kamenga in a heartbeat. I mean, we talked about this last time a little bit too. Like, we would take Kamenga over Suggs as well at this point. And remember, Suggs was the person we were all pining for, right?
Yeah.
Because we wanted that, like, he had that Warriors vibe, that like Steph Curry basketball camp pedigree, just like Nico Mannion. So that's definitely something that I look forward to. I mean, and there's just so many storylines still continuing, right? There have been, since the beginning of the season, we knew that this was going to be one of the more fascinating NBA seasons, but also specifically Warriors seasons, just because like there were so many players, so many things going on, whether it's, Steph just being Steph, breaking Ray Allen's record, which he just did a couple weeks ago, Clay coming back from his injuries, James Wiseman seeing how he would do, how Kamenga would develop, would Jordan Poole be the same guy and improve on what he did at the end of last season, would Draymond get in shape and return to his prime years. And it's just, I don't know, like there's so many things to pay attention to. And as somebody who talks about the Warriors, like it's just a ton of material, like really, really solid things that get you excited to continue to pay attention to. And, I don't have to talk about like, well, maybe Kelly Oubre Jr. will come off the bench, or maybe he will resign, and I'm like, no, I didn't, like all last year, I was like, no, we don't want that. So, maybe Brad Wanamaker could be like the adult in the room, like Andre Iguodala was.
Talk about hopes and dreams. But I mean, it is tricky because we're talking about kind of like savoring the moment and making most of it, but also taking the long view, because that was also one of my resolutions, is like, take the long view. And I think that the organization is doing that. It's hard to stay patient, especially we have these aging players, and it's hard to not think, well, we gotta push all of our chips in and go all in now, right? Because we are savoring it, because we are appreciating what these core players have done for us, right?
Yeah.
And this is our opportunity. But because one of my resolutions that I kind of went back and forth on, and that I didn't necessarily want to even talk about, was resolution: don't trade Wiseman. Resolution: trade Wiseman. No. Because and I think what I landed on is, I didn't want to talk about that actually, but I wanted to say, take the long view for this year and next, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're fans, and we're fans because we want to see them win, right? We want to see a championship, especially with these players. So I guess, it's hard to fight that impulse to say like, hey, let's go get Miles Turner, because that'll give us a better championship odds, right? It's still not a guarantee though, right? So
no.
I mean that was definitely like prompted, like Hollinger brought that trade up again the other day, I think yesterday, and so it made me think about that. And it's like, well, if you could guarantee it, would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago. It's like maybe like, because we do have Kamenga as like the young and future piece, same with Jordan Poole, and to some lesser extent Moses Moody. So if you can guarantee it, which is impossible,
like it's impossible. It's a moot point.
Sure, but maybe. But when I saw Miles Turner against the Warriors in that Pacers game, I was not impressed. And I love homegrown talent, and I believe in Wiseman. I've been riding with that dude since before the draft. And me personally, I'm like, resolution: don't trade Wiseman. Don't do anything crazy. Do you have any others?
I mean, I got a last one, and
Yeah.
it's kind of in the vein of that. It's kind of like the players play to win, the organization exists to win. We watch the playoffs because we want to win. I want to see a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
This is I don't this is not a resolution. This is a wish, but I want them to have a normal quote air quotes normal playoffs without qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, it's kind of like, oh, if Kyrie and Love weren't injured, or if they didn't have KD, it's just like, let's get one without qualifiers, right? If they could do it with this team, right, as it is right now, blending these young dudes with these old vets, right? Imagine the narrative, the NBA narrative for that. And that would be just incredible, and for it to be a run that isn't like, oh, blah blah blah, put this guy, put this guy there.
Yeah.
You fill in the blanks of what that translates to.
Yeah, man. But if you go on NBA Twitter, there will always be qualifiers, no matter what.
Yeah.
But no, I feel you, man. I feel you. Like I said earlier in the season, once they got a quarter way through the season, pretty much, I am fully invested in wanting to see something special. And by something special includes all that, right? Like having like this healthy all-time team that, beats other teams that are healthy as well, and something that you can really hang your hat on and say, wow, like this team, these star players, the front office, they made it work. Last season, it was so easy to kind of roll with certain wins and losses because they were so mediocre, pretty much the definition of mediocre last year. But again, earlier this season, once it was like, hey, all right, well, this team is like coming together, it's like better than we thought. Then all of a sudden it's like, no, we must beat everybody. Every game that we lose is gonna hurt. We gotta kill Phoenix, all this stuff. So that investment is going to be, like, that's kind of a resolution too. It's like to be invested, but like not to let it really, really get to you. Cause I mean, you and I both, man, we go way back on this Warriors squad, to the point where it's like you got to be able to let it go, like let certain things go to keep your own sanity and whatnot. But I do think, like you were saying earlier, like staying in the moment with this team and also taking the long view. I mean, I don't think those are mutually exclusive at all. You know what I mean? Like I think we could be understanding of how good this team could be in a year, in 2 years, just overall, while Steph is still relatively in his prime, while Clay is still in his prime, and while Dre hopefully is still around. But then also just looking at how this team has come together right now, and those things that Steve Kerr always preaches, like the mindfulness, the joy, the competitiveness, etc. All those things, and just understanding that everything is broken right for this team so far, pretty much. And then if things break right for them in the second half of the season, meaning not just health, but like Clay coming back and Wiseman coming back, and them solidly contributing to the levels that you hope for, then this might be Ubris. I might be jinxing it, but this team will destroy the rest of the NBA. That's it. I just ended our title hopes right then and there. Just kidding.
Well, I'll take it. I mean, that's what we want to see. We want to see that chance, and so just stay the course, right? Like let Wiseman get back on the floor with these dudes. Like, well, let's see Clay, and we got a real opportunity, and we're also really lucky too, because this is usually like the worst time of the NBA season. It's like January, February, and we're getting Clay back.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get Wiseman back. It's going to make the next couple of months really interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When usually you're just like limping to the All-Star game, and then the March like playoff push or whatever, right? So
yeah.
This is going to be good. Like, please, people out there, like, savor this. Like, there's never been a better time. And I feel like the NBA is, to me, it's better than it's ever been. I just think that the skill is incredible. Okay, maybe a few too many 3-point shots, but I'll take that back a little bit. And I was I was reminiscing about Charles Oakley a little bit earlier today, so I missed that a little bit too. But but I think the game is in incredible shape, and it's the level that people are playing at, and the skill is amazing. So just continue to enjoy this.
And my last thing is to sit down and listen to James Wiseman's rap tracks on SoundCloud, because he posts about those on his Instagram stories.
You got to have other interests, man. Like, hey, just like Clay talked about before he got injured, all he cared about was basketball and his dog, and maybe IG models, but
maybe.
But he's kind of diversified his interests with the boating and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, and one last one for me, which is more personal for this podcast, is to actually do more of the video stuff. For those of y'all listening, whenever I record with a guest, for a while record video, assuming that I was going to post video, but then I stopped because I never posted any of the videos because it was just I couldn't find the time or couldn't work it into the schedule. So that's something that I hope to work into the Oakland Warriors podcast soon, very soon.
Anyway. All right. Got to work on my background then.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, and have a happy and safe New Year, man. All things hopefully pointing upwards.
Yeah, you too. Happy New Year. And to all the folks out there.
All right, man. This has been another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Patrick Epino, EPINO, or at Oakland Warriors. Check out Aram on Twitter at Aram Collier, ARAMCOLLIER. Check us out at OaklandWarriors.com, and be sure to tell your fellow Warrior fan friends to tune in and listen to the Oakland Warriors podcast. It's produced by National Film Society and is a part of the Basketball Podcast Network. And if you're so inclined and haven't yet, please do leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, because now you can do that on Spotify if you did not know, and leave us a nice review anywhere you can. That's it. Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time, and go Dubs.